Having a lot of money has never been a problem. Large companies went bankrupt after ignoring obvious, repeated, almost childish warnings. And the most unsettling part is that these alerts also appear in the life of anyone who earns, spends, and decides. The difference is that in those cases, the mistake cost billions. In everyday life, it takes years. When a giant company laughs at a new idea, when another company creates something revolutionary and then shelves it, when someone confuses a dream with basic math, it's neither bad luck nor a lack of intelligence. It's a mental pattern. It's the same pattern that makes someone maintain debt, thinking that it will be resolved later. This video dismantles these patterns one by one, not with complicated terms or pretty theory, but with real stories explained in the simplest way possible. Because in the end, the most costly financial mistakes, they are not difficult to understand. They are too easy to be taken seriously. Everyone thought Blockbuster was indestructible. Packed stores, new movies, the smell of popcorn, and long lines on the weekend. Meanwhile, Netflix was making a strange offer online. It seemed like something only impatient, unattached, almost childish people would do. Blockbuster looked at that and laughed, not maliciously, but arrogantly. They figured that no one would give up the physical experience for comfort. It was like laughing at someone approaching on a bicycle while you're standing still. But the world doesn't respect size. It respects adaptation. The mistake wasn't a lack of money or a strong brand. It was a lack of listening and an excess of certainty about their own success. The leadership believed that the old model would last forever. They ignored new habits, tired families, and connected young people. People who wanted convenience after work, without leaving home. It's the same mistake people make when they only invest in what has always worked. How to put all your money into a single stock due to emotional attachment. Books like Think and Grow Rich have been warning about this for decades. Change is scary, but ignoring it is far more costly. By the time Blockbuster tried to react, the pace had already changed. Netflix learned quickly, made mistakes quickly, and corrected them quickly. While one protected stores, the other shaped behavior. This contrast teaches anyone something simple. Don't fall in love with the format, fall in love with the solution. Those who create content, invest, or start businesses need to listen to the signals early. If this kind of story opens your mind, it's worth sticking around. Subscribe to the channel because this pattern repeats itself more often than it seems, even with a company that created the future but was afraid of it. Few people know this, but Kodak invented the digital camera first. Yes, the future was born within the company itself, but instead of embracing the idea, they froze. The fear was simple: losing money on photographic film. It was like having a new toy in your hands and choosing the old one. The leadership preferred to protect immediate profits. They thought digital technology would take a while to catch on. Meanwhile, ordinary people wanted practicality, and people's habits almost always win over companies' attachments. Kodak didn't fail due to a lack of technology. He erred by confusing current revenue with a long-term vision. This also happens in personal life, all the time. People who don't change careers for fear of earning less initially, or those who don't study something new because they're too old already. Books like Blue Ocean Strategy talk a lot about this. Creating new space requires giving up old comforts. Investors notice this when companies fail to reinvent themselves. The price of this choice usually arrives slowly, but it does arrive. When the market finally changed, Kodak was already struggling. Other brands have understood digital as a starting point. Cell phones have started taking better photos each year, and the value shifted from the film itself to the ecosystem. This teaches a practical rule: innovation doesn't wait for permission. Those who hesitate too much end up being referenced only in history books. The most curious thing is that another giant fell for the same reason. She controlled pockets, conversations, and the entire world. But he stopped listening when everyone spoke differently. There was a time when Nokia was synonymous with cell phone. It was in the pockets of students, workers, and business owners. The battery lasted for days, and the device didn't break easily. They won through trust and simplicity. But this dominance turned into complacency. The company came to believe that size was enough. In basketball, it's like a championship team that stops practicing fundamentals. It earns respect for the past, but forgets the present game. Leave in the comments which team this would be, because it's exactly the one you're imagining. But the scoreboard never respects history, only current performance. Nokia continued playing as if the playing field hadn't changed. He insisted on physical strength when the game became about speed and vision. In basketball, it would be like focusing only on the center while the rest of the world shoots three-pointers. They thought that hardware solved everything, but the software became the team's playmaker. He orchestrated the game, created space, and decided matches. This happens with professionals who ignore new skills. Learning basic technology today is like practicing free throws. Those who don't practice easily lose points. When they tried to react, the timer was already running out. Other teams already understood the new rhythm of the game. The audience wanted fluidity, connection, and a complete experience. The strong brand has become a burden, not an advantage. In basketball, reputation alone doesn't win games without practice. In life, status doesn't guarantee results without adaptation. Listening to the game is just as important as playing well. If this analogy cleared things up for you, it strengthens the team. Leave a like on the video because the next mistake was even more basic. WeWork entered the game selling an idea that was too good to be true. Modern offices, a sense of community, and a promise of the future. It seemed more like a cultural movement than a company. Many people bought the story without looking at the receipt. The problem is that charm doesn't pay the bills at the end of the month. They rented at high prices and sublet cheaply, repeatedly. It was like promising a huge house without having enough bricks. At first, nobody asks questions, everyone applauds. But the bill always comes due, without exception. WeWork's mistake was confusing narrative with structure. Dreaming big is healthy, but it needs to be put on paper. This also applies to personal life. Some people take out long-term loans without any savings whatsoever. Or they start a business without understanding basic cash flow. A good exercise is simple. Write down your income and expenses every month. Books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad help to change that view. Financial mathematics isn't boring. It's liberating. She shows you how far you can go without tripping. When investors looked at the numbers calmly, the castle crumbled. The story was good, but it couldn't stand on its own. No company survives on promises alone. Results come from a balance between vision and discipline. Those who ignore this rise quickly, but fall even faster. This pattern appears in several places, even in companies that said no to huge opportunities, thinking that it wasn't worth that much after all. And this type of mistake changes entire generations. Yahoo was once the gateway to the internet for many people. Email, news, search, it all started there. They were sitting in a position that any company would dream of. Even so, they said no to Google. Then, they downgraded Facebook when it was still small. Other proposals were discussed and rejected. They seemed too ordinary to be worth billions. It was like rejecting rare trading cards thinking they were duplicates. Years later, everyone saw someone else's complete album. Yahoo's problem wasn't a lack of access to opportunities. It was excessive comparison with one's own ego. They wanted to buy cheaply and be in charge of everything. When they didn't have complete control, they lost interest. This happens a lot outside of companies as well. People who don't accept a just society because they want everything for themselves, or those who refuse to learn from someone younger out of pride. Books like the Zurich Axioms discuss this well. Big decisions require commensurate humility. In the end, Yahoo became an example of what not to do. He had a partial vision, but lacked strategic courage. The market doesn't reward those who only observe. He rewards those who make the right decisions at the right time. This story reveals a clear pattern across all cases. Size, past success, and fame do not guarantee a future. What guarantees success is listening, adaptation, and cold, hard calculation. Those who learn this early save themselves years of frustration, and he understands that financial error is not stupidity, it's a lack of adjustment. If you've made it this far, you've already noticed a clear pattern. These errors did not occur due to a lack of information. They happened because someone stopped listening, calculating, or questioning. And this applies to billion-dollar companies as well as small day-to-day decisions. Trading comfort for learning hurts less than persisting in error. The difference between those who grow and those who stagnate almost always lies there. It's worth reflecting on. In what area of your life are you acting like these companies? Are you ignoring obvious signs because you're clinging to what you already know? Are you postponing simple adjustments for fear of tampering with what seems stable? Or are you dreaming big without checking if the numbers add up at the end of the month? Answering that honestly already changes a lot. Knowledge only becomes an advantage when it translates into action. If this content helped you see decisions more clearly, stick around, because these kinds of conversations don't happen by chance. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, and continues learning how to avoid mistakes that seem silly, but they are far too expensive when no one explains them properly.